Welcome to the Spiritualpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, aka Love Pixel. And in each episode, we sit down with spiritual entrepreneurs sharing their knowledge, wisdom, and tools on their path to authentic success. Let's dive in. What is up, beautiful people? Christian here from the Successful Spiritualpreneur Podcast. And today I'm super excited to have Joshua B. Lee on the podcast. He's a seasoned entrepreneur, marketer, and thought leader, widely known as the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn. With over 20 years in digital marketing, he has built 16 businesses and managed nearly $1 billion in ad spend for clients like MySpace, Google, and Yahoo, generating 35 trillion online impressions. After achieving early financial success, he was a millionaire by the age of 28. Joshua shifted his focus from pure traffic and conversions to authentic human connections. He founded Standout Authority in 2014 to humanize personal branding and networking, especially on LinkedIn. Joshua's approach has redefined how professionals connect online, prioritizing H2H, human to human relationships over the traditional B2B or B2C mindset. This profile distills Joshua B's leadership philosophy, signature frameworks, industry impact, and communication style to inform a powerful AI persona that embodies his full expertise and voice. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, my friend. I am excited to be able to be here and really looking forward to our conversation. You know, even the quick back and forth that you and I had and before we went on camera, was impactful. So I can't wait to see where you lead the conversation that I can add value in.
Amazing. Well, I want to jump right in because I think, people, when they're interested in someone's story, they can really dive deep into that person online. Usually I like to, ask questions that are, relevant to our audience, to our listeners. And let's start with, I saw one of your social posts and said, I don't really want to be an influencer. So tell me more about that concept because your entire philosophy is just so anchored into consciousness, humanity, love, like that, like the care and the connection that kind of gets lost in the sea of online, almost AI generated. It's just like posting and posting and posting. It's like, why?
Yeah, Christian, it's an amazing question, and I wish I was like, I just woke up one day and I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do, right? Like it was a long journey because, like everybody else, we live in a social media driven world. And, I was driven initially on what I was taught by my parents, right? Build a business, build as much money as possible, hold on to it, and that makes you successful. And I did that and I didn't feel successful. People looked at me as a successful entrepreneur. I was deemed successful based on monetary values, which is what most people in this world deem success based off of. But I was hollow inside because I was building businesses. I knew how to make money, but that was it. I wasn't creating impact. And I think that was the biggest shift for me, is that I had to go out. And it wasn't till I remember one day I have 3 kids now. My son, Jaden, 15, my daughter, Skylar is 12. And then I've got my littlest one who's 16 months, Ava. So, my kids are my driving points, and the first 2 are around, and I knew I had to do better. And so for me, I remember I was upset. My relationship, even though it seemed good to everybody personally, and the businesses were running. I was running 10 different companies at the time, 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. I had all the time in the world. But I remember going into my office and the doors would shut at one point in time. And I remember, Christian, I remember staring at the wall. And I remember when my office actually turned from a sanctuary to a coffin, where I would contemplate if I should be on this planet or if the money that I would leave for my children would be more important than me. And that was a hard thing to go through. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs in this world, because of what we've seen, what we perceive online, is we're always judging ourselves by everyone else's social media, right? And how they perceive themselves to be success. I was really blessed. A good friend of mine, Jesse Elder, amazing human being, gave me permission. And as men, a lot of times we need that permission, right? Because we need the permission to actually take my life back and also give my former hers. And so I went through I know this is a deep story to go in with everybody right out the gate, but like, I think it's important to set the stage of how we got to where we are, because I went through, my lawyers told me, hey, Josh, it's going to take 3 years. I said, you know what? I can't do that. I'm not going to do that to my kids. I can always make more money. I can't make more time. That's the one resource we don't get back. And so I closed all my companies. I gave everything to my former. And at 36, I moved back in with my parents to be able to save time and to be able to protect my kids. And I restarted. And I don't think it was until even 6 months after, like I was living this life, I was like, oh, I'm free of everything. Yay. But I was out partying with my friends. I was distracting myself. And when I wasn't distracting, I was on the couch, not moving, just like miserable and actually in a mini depression that I didn't even allow myself to understand. And not until I talked to a couple of my friends and I told them what I was feeling, and they're like, we know. And then I announced to the world on social media where I was at, it clicked. The biggest thing that drives most people crazy is our perception of someone else's perception of us. I want to say that again. Our perception of someone else's perception is what drives us all crazy. We have no clue what someone else perceives of us. So, do I want to be an influencer? No, because an influencer to me in this world is someone that's being paid to be able to try and sell you some junk they don't care about. Do I want to be a thought leader? Yeah, I love saying some amazing things that people go, wow, and they'll ponder for a while. But I don't want to be that either. I want to be a thought leader with influence, because what I say and what I do, if I'm putting out content that doesn't push someone to take action, to make a change in their life, a change in their business, or to be able to validate what they're doing, why am I doing it? Because I'm just adding more noise to this world. So, long story short, that's how I got to where I am, of not wanting to be an influencer, but someone that actually creates change in this world, because I have 3 kids. And if I don't, who will? And if I don't push people to make changes as well, I can't do it alone. I have to have everyone listening. Christian, I have to have someone like you in this world. We all have to do this together to make this a better world for not only my kids, but everyone else's.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like, it's just taking the power back, when you were 36 and just straight up, no, I'm going to redesign my life,
Yeah.
from a whole different vantage point, you know. So kudos to you. A
Thank you,
lot
my
of
friend.
people, a lot of people get stuck and just stay in that golden cage, you know.
And they go through a life of misery, and they have all the money in the world, but guess what? Money doesn't buy you happiness. And you'll see them, they look, I mean, Christian, if you look at pictures of me when I was that 28 millionaire, and remember, I say was millionaire, right? Like I've made it, I've lost it, I've gone through my world, right? Like I look 10 years older 10 years ago than I do now.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
I am young. I got another kid, and I still look younger, because again, I appreciate the different aspects of my life, the value of the time. And these guys, these men, these women, these human beings that are focused on monetizing this world, they look exhausted.
Hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Well, I really love, having you on because you feel like you're the perfect embodiment of the successful spiritualpreneur. You know what I mean? Like you've had
Thank
the
you.
entrepreneurship experience. You have now also integrated, feels like, that spiritual side of yourself, which sounds like you source a lot also from your family. So what I'm interested in is like, now that you have these two components, or the yin and the yang, so to say, of this podcast, of this philosophy of being a centered entrepreneur,
Yeah.
heart-centered entrepreneur, how do you approach content creation? Because people like us, that they have so many layers they want to express, and what it's kind of tricky because the algorithm sometimes only pushes one or
Yeah.
part of that, you know.
Yeah. Well, you've always got to have your through point, right? I think that's the biggest thing. So many people, they have so many different ways they want to be able to go, and they want to talk about 50 different things. Look, as entrepreneurs, it's, don't get me wrong. Like, I get it all the time, like, squirrel. Okay. Shiny object, right? I want to look, especially in a world of AI and tech and all the other fun stuff. Like, my wife knows I'm like, ooh, that's fun. Let's try this. But the biggest thing I learned, if I'm going to be able to share a message, and I want to be able to create a tribe of human beings, that I want connections. I don't want followers. I want connections, right? I need to build a connection. They have to understand who I am. And for them to understand who I am, I have to understand who I am first. This is very similar to the same thing that I teach my kids, right? Respect is that through point that you'll see through all my content. Respect is one thing that in the beginning of my life, my parents taught me to hold it at the highest, right? Respect for others, respect for myself. And when you went through force, I try to earn respect by building businesses, by being a titan in an industry. And then I shifted to understanding that, but I didn't respect myself. And so what I had to shift was, I didn't respect myself first. If I couldn't stand in front of my kids and be able to say whatever I need to say, they could be sitting in this room right now, listening to our podcast, our conversation. And if I can't say what I need to say in front of them, I shouldn't say it. And so like, that's the piece, right? You talk about building content. What is that content that you feel comfortable with? The people that know you the best, that love you the most. Hell, if you don't have kids, is it your mom? Is it your dad? Right? If they were sitting in the room, they're reading your content, they're like, yes, that is my son. That is my daughter. Right? Or they're like, okay, yeah. If they can't believe you, like, why are you saying it? Like, no, people make decisions in this world based on we're all emotionally driven. I don't care what someone says, like, oh, I'm analytical. Analytics are always based off of, to make the decision, have some basis of emotion tied to those analytics. And so, like, as human beings, we make decisions based on some degree of love or hate. The biggest problem I see with Christian in this world, in a world of love and hate, where people are scared to be hated, even more so, they're scared to be loved. So what do? They put out content that's indifferent. And what did they just do? They just wasted time, their own time and the reader's time. The one resource I already talked about, we don't get back. So how are you showing up? If you're putting something out there, do you love what you do? Can you stand behind it? If you have haters, because again, if you can't drink that haterade, I'm telling you, you don't love what you're saying enough. If it affects you when someone says that in a negative, like, oh my God, I upset somebody, you better upset somebody, because we don't all have the same beliefs, and that's okay. Now, don't upset someone in a way that actually hurts them, right? When I want you to be polarizing, when you're putting out content that's polarizing, being able to pick a topic that you love and can stand behind, if it brings down and brings other human beings down, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Polarizing in a good way that makes someone think. So that's what I want everyone to think about with content, Christian, is like, how do you choose? You know in your gut. Come on. Like, just because it's a shiny object? No, that's not what it is. If you can take something and actually align it with what your passion, what your through point is. My through point is respect. It was getting respect from others. Now it's getting respect for myself first, because how can someone respect me if I don't respect myself? That's what I teach my kids all the time. And so in that same content, if I'm going to put content out there, I better respect the hell out of what it says.
Beautiful. I love that.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
get passionate sometimes on these things,
No.
because I think too many people talk a whole bunch and like don't really share how they really feel. And I
Yeah.
think feeling is so important in this world. You talk about the entrepreneur versus the spiritual entrepreneur. Like, man, I'll be honest, like, after my divorce, I did it. I did this whole spiritual thing. I went full woo. I'll be honest. I mean, my pendulum had swung, I had my man bun, I had my mala beads. Dude, I was going to be the next guru. I wrote my book, which I had to change a little bit. Balance is bullshit. How to live an integrated life. And, but I realized really quickly I wasn't that coach. I wasn't that guru, so to speak, in that side, because I was trying to swing to one side or the other. That's the same thing that people try to live this whole work-life balance. You don't have a personal life and a work life. You have one life, and you have to be able to live it that way. And that's what I tried to do. I went from business Josh to, woo Josh, and I forgot to find the middle ground in between. And I think that's where that's where Standout Authority Board, and that was where what I do now, why it started to resonate with human beings in a way that it never had before.
So how do you combine that value of vulnerability and authenticity with authority? Like for content creation, because obviously there's some sort of,
Yeah.
I think you understand what I mean, right?
So here's our recipe for success in content. A lot of people have heard of the 80-20 method of creating content or making decisions or business or whatever. We kind of go with the 10-20-70 method of content creation. So 10% of your content needs to be human. It needs to be about you. As human beings, we connect with other human beings. We look for commonality. So you have to be able to put yourself out there. So, I think about this, like the easiest way is like on Facebook, and Christian, I know you say you have kids like all the time, like, and I apologize, I didn't ask how your child was, but when they start going to school, we all see this. It used to be all the time, like on Facebook. Oh, it's first day of school. Yeah. Yay. That's great. That's for Facebook. Like on LinkedIn and other platforms, you don't need to know the first day my kid's going to school, but you need to know I have children. Because now, Christian, you and I connect as fathers. We have a commonality. That's what we've been taught throughout all of our lives and throughout humanity is people connect based on commonality. They group. And so that's what you're looking to be able to do. It's what I call my door to the couch method, which is instead of me knocking on your door going, hey, hi, I'm Josh, I'm here to sell you something, to Christian, you and I sitting on a couch hanging out because we have some bond, we have some commonality together, that 10% that's put us together. And I'm like, hey, Christian, man, I got this new thing. And you're like, oh, Josh, why you get it, right? You're inviting me in. So that's the 10%. 20% of your content needs to be around your company or what you do. Now, here's the whole piece. When I said this, what you do, not what you can do. This is where people get messed up all the time because Christian, they go on there and they're like, hey, I can help you make $1 million, or I can show you how to get 50 clients, or cool. Don't tell me what you can do for me. I want you to use storytelling in regards to real storytelling. Let's preface that, not fictional storytelling, which a lot of people do as well too. And tell me a story of how you've helped somebody else in this world achieve the results that I want to achieve. And so that's that 20%. We only do it 20% of the time because no one wants to be that guy we always see, or that woman we always see, that human being we always see that's always talking about themselves. It's exhausting. We've been to events and they're like, hey, let me tell you all about me. And like, whoa, we just met, right? No one cares about your shiny shit, right? That is the big thing. So that's the whole piece. That's why we only do it 20% of the time. And then 70% of the time, what I want you to do, and what I want everyone to do here, and it's so easy, I want you to be the expert about what you do and share it with the world. I want you to be an aggregator of value. How do you educate, inspire, and draw your audience with this 70%, right? Share everything, how you do it, because in this world, I can tell you the exact way of how I do something. And probably, I used to say 70%, probably 90% of people now these days are like, cool, can you just do it for me? I don't have time. And that's the whole piece, because in the long run, even if they do, they can never do it the same way as you do. So they can't be you without you, because people are scared to share their IP in case that someone's going to steal. Dude, people have taken they haven't taken, they haven't stole, they've used the ideas that I've given and I've given them freely time and time again, once a week. And that's okay, right? Because that means something that I'm doing is of value. And I'm excited about that.
Yes, it's the founder of Gucci who said, the copying is the highest form of
Flattery.
flattery. Flattery,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that means you're doing something right. I mean, that should be instilling you. Most people get upset, like, oh, I can't believe this. You know what? If you're the true source, it'll come back to you. The universe will know. And, instead of getting mad, because we all get mad, right? How much energy, Christian, do we spend in this world being upset at the little things that happen to us throughout the life, throughout our day, compared to how much time and energy do we actually spend appreciating what didn't happen to us in a negative fashion? You
Yeah,
stub your toe,
it's so
you're like,
true.
oh, you put so much energy. At the end of the day, if you didn't stub your toe, do you go, yeah, I didn't hurt myself today? Oh, that's amazing.
I don't know. My wife always says when a certain decision path or something like that. I'm just like, she's like, you never know what you're being saved from, Christian. I was like, all glory to you, Maria. She's 15 years older than I am, and she's so much wiser. It's
Hey,
really fun to see how much she's just like staying in her lane, knowing when to, like for me, for example, like I love to be loved by people and appreciated, and try to get approval from people that, especially that's hard to get approval from,
yeah,
right? So I do things that are just like, she's like, why do you do that? Like she doesn't always say it loud, but it's like, I don't know. Sometimes, I have to go through my lessons and learn that and integrate that. It's like, yeah, why did I do that?
yeah.
But usually it comes after that you realize, yeah, that was kind of not a smart investment of energy.
Christian, I'm glad that she allows you to be able to go down that path and that journey, right? Because I think a lot of people in this world, a lot of younger entrepreneurs, are skipping some of the things that I might have went through. Like, look, man, I'm turning 47 this year, right? And so there's a lot of things that I had to learn that a lot of entrepreneurs say. Like, when I built my first company, I bought servers. I had to like do do a lot of different things, build a website. Like, it took a while. I had to hire people, like go through and like, dude, with AI, I can have a website tomorrow. Hell, I could probably have a website in the next hour. There's no effort involved into it. And I think that we lose some of that intrinsic value then when there's such little effort put into achieving the result that we
Mm,
don't value the result. And so that's a beautiful gift that she gives you. Now she might, give you hints here or there, but the gift of allowing you your own journey, dude, that's a beautiful thing, and you're very lucky.
yeah, yeah. She's a gem. She's incredible, and the way we've met too is like it was meant to be. Like it was
Love
incredible.
that. Love that.
Um, we met at a Course in Miracles retreat. It's like
Okay.
it's a book that talks about non-duality and how to shift your mindset from fear to love at any given moment. Yeah,
I
it's
love
very
that.
cool. If anyone out there.
No, I love that. It's interesting you talk about duality and stuff like that, because I mean, like, if you see the pictures behind me, this is representative.
I'll see about the pictures. Like
I
it's like
went on a spiritual journey about 10, 12 years ago. And after I came back, I had an artist put these together, and it's the female and the male ethos and then
which
what
one
was
is the which one is
represented
the
to me.
picture is the male? Which one is the female?
This is the female, a little bit more soft, a little gentler. You can't really read it, but it's like brushed by those lips, pressed against those hips, kissed, very more soft and gentle, the closed eyes. This is a little bit more like this rough and crazy and the crown and all that. And so this is the male ego, and like and that ethos, and like what I try to do is, you know, be in between the two, right? Like,
Mm,
because I truly believe in this world you can't have one without the other. We've tried the different aspects where it's like, and to have true value, it's like if I gave you a coin and it only had one side on it, it would be fake. It'd be and it wouldn't be real, right? We need both sides of the coin to create true value. And so like in my world, I try to always make sure that I sit between the two, the male and the female ethos, understanding both sides to be able to create true value for the people that I get blessed to be able to have conversations with.
Yeah, yeah. I look a lot of at a lot of things in my life at the perspective of yin and yang, that kind of like divine balance, or in Buddhism they call it the golden path, the golden middle path. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, where is that for you within your relationship, within this project, within this you know conversation, within so it's cool to see you saying the same thing. And I think once everyone finds kind of like the equilibrium, and of course that changes throughout life too, as your life changes. I think if one hasn't found that yet, maybe keep looking a little bit more, because once you found it, it's just like that's kind of like your energetic essence,
Oh yeah, your
right?
vibration, right? And once you find other people that are on that same vibrational frequency, it's amazing, how you can connect on a different level. So yeah,
Totally. I can tell, for example, like by the conversations, like you're you're more masculine than I am. I'm just like it's like more chill, more soft, more, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of like how I've decided myself to like create myself to be,
yeah,
right? Like, I grew up in countryside Germany, came over here to the States, LA for 3 years. I'm like, oh my god, way too crazy. And then I moved to countryside Florida. Love
okay,
it, peaceful,
there we go.
gentle, chill.
Where
And
in Germany did you grow up?
close to Munich. It's called.
Okay, my mom was born in Munich.
Okay, wow, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been here 7 years. Been quite the journey.
amazing, amazing, my friend. Well, how
Yeah,
are we doing? Are we inspiring? I mean, how's Christian? How are we doing on this conversation? Where are we going from here? I mean, I'm excited.
yeah. Well, I think this podcast is all about honoring the flow, right? So right now
Yeah,
you're like, Christian, let's make sure we don't divert, like we don't bore the audience. What a cool, you know. I think I
yeah.
love the depth, right? But you also want to make sure we don't, you know.
I mean, look, you
But
and I could already tell you and I could sit here and we could probably have a conversation, do 2 hours later, and be like, oh wait, let's get back to the thing. So,
yeah,
like, that's a
so,
beauty. Like, I think people want to be able to be that
yeah,
fly on the wall to be
they
able to
want to
listen
see
in.
that we're real too. We're just not robots talking some random ass topic. Like it's all the best to create the best content, but I also want to connect, right? So this is
100%.
perfect. We're a great team. So let's switch the conversation to robots, because you have something special cooked up with AI, and I want to learn how you use AI in your business, how you recommend others using it. Because obviously we want to keep this authenticity, but also we want to use technology.
Of course. No, I mean, look, Christian, I mean, people are continue to go off and be like, we're in a digital revolution. We're in a digital revolution. Look how much digital is happening right now. And I call BS. I don't think we're in a digital revolution. We're in a human revolution, because as human beings, we have more power than we've ever had in the history of our lives. And I think people need to pay attention to that, because AI currently cannot do the things like emotion. It can fake emotion, but again, as human beings, most times we pick up. I've in 20 years, I have watched human beings pick up on things throughout my career. I mean, I don't know if you remember or not, but like 20 years ago when Google launched, guess what? There was this little thing eventually they put on there called sponsored ads. It was the first three listings on Google. Most people had no clue what they are, and they just clicked the top three. Google and I made a lot of money. And then people realized, oh, wait, because here's always the learning curve, right? And then once they figure out what that is, well, I don't want to click on paid ads. And now they go to the organic stuff. And so, like, that's that whole piece, right? We're in a world where people want to fake it with AI, create all their content like you talked about earlier. Content's not king anymore because of AI. Because people are going, hey, create me 50 posts for the next 2 days, and so I could be able to put it out there. Well, dude, you just overloaded me. Because I mean, in a world like, I don't want more content. Content's not king, quality is queen. And in this world, we need more quality to be able to connect. Because, dude, I can tell you, I've done my Friday night Netflix and chill with my wife, and let me tell you too, I actually spend more time sometimes trying to find a show that we're going to watch than actually watching the show. And my wife's like, dude, if you don't pick a show quickly, I'm out. And I'm like, okay, I got it, because it's like, ooh, all this stuff. What do I get? Do this. And that's with content, right? Like that's everyone's putting out this content and it's this content overload. But when you see something, when you connect with something, that's what we have to be able to do. And AI doesn't live our lives. It doesn't have the emotions. It doesn't have, like we talked about, the journey earlier that your wife is allowing you to be able to go in and to be able to learn. Now, can it be able to be a tool, a resource for us? 100%. I mean, it is amazing what we can accomplish. I mean, I was using ChatGPT's their pro version. That's like $200 a month. People are like, wow, can't believe you're paying $200 a month. Like, there's so many AIs that are free, dude. I had it going in there. This was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, all right, I need you to be able to help me read through my book, rewrite it. I want to sit down with you. I'm going to tell you new stories I want to be add into it and help me be able to put that in there. And so it's been working on the rewrite for my book for the last two weeks. It's redoing my keynote pages. It helped me design a program that I can actually do and be able to put something new that we're going to be launching this year. And it's all working in the background. Now, is it going to be 100% done? No, I'd say it gets about 80 to 90% there, but that's where as human beings we come in, because it's not an appliance, right? AI is not an appliance where I can just put my dishes in the dishwasher and it washes the dishes. It is a tool. And like any amazing tool, very similar to a paintbrush in an amazing artist's hands, that is how art is created. You can either have a scribble that my daughter did at 16 months, or you can have some amazing piece of art that was crafted by a human that took time, energy, and life experiences. And so, like, this is that whole piece. Like, we use AI in multiple different ways for idea creation, to be able to go through, to do research, to be able to, when we have clients, like Christian, I'm very blessed these days in our company, Standard Authority, being able to humanize the way we are online through personal branding and leveraging LinkedIn to be able to do that. One of the most powerful platforms out there that most people don't know how to use. And if I want to do research on you, Christian, I can go through, like, it could take me a couple of days, or I can give it the basic information and it'll go through and build a persona and give me life aspects. And I can build that whole aspect to give to a writer to be able to help create your content, to understand your tonality, your vocabulary, all these different aspects, right? Like, so that's what I want people to understand. Like, what it can do for us, it can cut time in half. It can't replace us, but it can bend time on itself. I think that's where people need to understand. I wrote this. I don't even know if I put this out yet. I'm about to tell you something. Like, it's coming out, but hopefully the post will come out before the podcast. We'll see. But it was, I want to make sure I say this right. With AI being able to go in, you have to be able to understand that when you're creating these different aspects of content going through, people are so scared it's going to replace themselves. But all it does is make you more powerful in being able to go through and being able to influence and create value in a way. Now, if you use it just as a spamming tool, you're not going to do that. But if you build it to be able to get to know your audience better and understand them and actually take time to be able to do that research, now you have an opportunity, because I want to be able to start a conversation that builds a relationship, because relationships open up opportunity. Most people go, oh, AI, it's going to get me a whole bunch of leads. No, you're just going to spam 1,000 people, piss them off. Maybe eventually you'll get one sale. I'd rather make advocates first, because I cared enough to understand them and allow the byproduct to become clients, because an advocate can bring me thousands of clients. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, so true. With AI just growing, the one thing that's become more and more important is humanity, like the human factor. So I love that you pointed that out there,
Yeah,
and I
really
think
important.
um, since you're a tool guy, what are tools that you use in your content creation? On a weekly basis.
Weekly basis, being able to go in. I mean, like, look, there's a lot of different aspects, right? Like, For me, one of the tools I think that is it's not even a tool, right? It's just an access. So everything that we do is mostly on LinkedIn. I mean, of course, we share on other platforms. I've got following and connections over there, but LinkedIn's my power platform. And like any other platform, there's always, like on Instagram or TikTok, we've got trending hashtags of what's going on in the world, right? Because I go from a growth mindset, right? Fixed mindset are like, this is how you do it, this is what's going on. Growth mindset is, where are people's attention going? What do they want? What excites them? So, like my son, I can either teach him math, or he loves robotics. So I can put him in robotics and actually teach him math through understanding how to be able to build a robot and be able to compete in a competition. So on LinkedIn, trending news, which is in the top right hand corner of your LinkedIn page, when you actually look at this, like if you look at LinkedIn, not on your phone, I know everyone's like, wait a minute, what? There's a website? Yes. LinkedIn on the website in the top right hand corner says trending news. That is the tool that I use because that shows me all the people that are reading. I can see like, oh, there's 300,000 readers right now on X, Y, or Z. And this is how I can use AI. I can go in, okay, this makes sense. This aligns. I like what they're talking about. Like Anthropic just raised $3.5 billion. Amazing. How can I take that subject and then be able to put my content into it that aligns and wraps around that subject that's already grabbing people's attention? Energy flows where attention goes. So why not tap into that energy that's already there? So that's one. And I think that's the most important. Like once people get used to that, that's amazing. Another one, of course, Canva. Canva is actually now in ChatGPT, so you can actually be able to use the AI and Canva integrated together, which is really cool to be able to kind of see that. I use Descript for video, and then ConvertKit, helps us nurture relationships and things like that. But all these AI tools and all these things, they all base off of my structure, right? I teach it how to build relationships, how to start conversations. I don't just say, hey, do this or do that, right? Because then it's going to I want to make sure it's going off of my philosophical ideals and what I believe in. So there's alignment. And so it does the things that I need that align with how I connect with other human beings.
Hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And we're coming towards the 40-minute mark of the episode, so I wanted to transition to some, to some of the questions that we have towards the end of the episode. So
Yeah, of course.
I'd love to ask some kind of short questions, but also deep questions. So what are three words that you want people to know you for after you leave this physical planet?
You know, I used to, father was always one of them, but like I think it's only for my kids, right? Like, so I would say human. I think that's going to be important, and where we're going as a society. I want that he was human.
Hmm.
Disruptor, because I think in this world, that's why a lot of marketers don't like me, right? Because they want to sell you the leads, they want to teach you the tripwires, they want to teach you the marketing tactics. I want to disrupt that and teach you how to be able to actually just go back to what we used to do, which was create a conversation, build a relationship, right? Because that's where the power is. Again, and especially where we're going as a society with AI and everything else. And last, connector, right? I not only connect you with new thought or new ideas, but hopefully I'm able to give you a piece of my life that it connects back to yours.
Hmm.
So human, disruptor, and connector.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Yeah.
Um, mine are love period, pixel period, T period. Because I feel like love. I mean, the agency is Love Pixel, right? So this, human. Like I started my company with like this aspect of like amalgamating these two aspects.
Yeah.
Um, so love is like for me is the family, is the just the human aspect, right? Pixel is the technology because I love technology and what it enables us to do, and then T I feel tea always just brings the balance. Like it's this philosophical concept and something to drink that just like
And what
brings
is
you.
your favorite brand of tea?
I have my own, you know.
Wow. Okay.
I'm
All right,
I'm
everyone.
I'm
Like
really
again, this
committed.
man is one of his words he is leaving for us is like his word is tea, and he creates his own. Like everyone already listens. Like, yeah, Josh, we know that's why we listen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's called
amazing.
One with Tea.
All
Um,
right.
but yeah, there's wonderful tea out there. Tea in general is incredible. So yeah, back to you.
Yeah.
So who or what inspires you the most in your spiritual or entrepreneurial journey currently?
You know, for me, it always comes back to family. Um, it's for me growing up as an only child. My family were very, very important to me, and friends that became part of that family. And we've even got one of our brands, which is Family,
Hmm.
right? Using the last name of using my last name in the brand. It's important, right? Like my wife Rachel, my kids, remind me every day that success is about impacting lives, not just making money. And that's what's really important for me. Because if I'm not impacting their lives, that's great. That's a very small circle. But if I can impact other people's lives and have that ripple effect impact theirs in a positive fashion, now I've truly created an opportunity and change in this world.
Sure. Yeah, that's where it's at. And with that being said, what's your vision for the new earth? I think like humanity collectively stepping into an entirely different timeline or just like season, however you want to call it. And I
Yeah.
feel we're all creating that, like part of you stepping out of the rat race and starting something that is aligned with you. Like part of this podcast, the existence of this podcast is because we are all as humans creating this new paradigm, the new, just world we live in. So
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
for that?
You know, it's an amazing question. And I think I've been asked that question in different ways, but not specifically the way that you're asking it. And I appreciate that. Um, because I mean, when I started realizing that I needed to create a new world, a new earth, um, that was when my path really started opening up, and I started being able to work with amazing human beings that I used to be able to read their books on how to be able to start my own company years ago, and now I get to help them educate, inspire, and draw on their audience, and that's what it is, right? A world where people stop hiding behind automation, right, and start actually leading with authenticity.
Hmm.
I want to see a world where trust and transparency and human connection actually drive business, not just tech. And I think we're seeing that at the same point, Christian, because I think we're in a world right now where tech is driving a lot of people's decision, but it's driving their decision because they want to trust now more than ever. And how
Hmm.
does that actually work? Well, they've got another human beings behind the brand, behind the tech, behind the whatever. And so I think that's where we're actually, even though we're seeing tech grow, we're seeing trust in our fellow human being become more important than ever before. And so like that's where I want to be able to continue to see this grow.
Beautiful. I think that's a very cool perspective. Thanks.
Thank you.
And as as part of our podcast at the end, I always like to kind of give it over to the guests and just like have a little visioning and future exercise for yourself to just ask yourself like what are future goals as as a personal brand or as your business, as a family. I mean, it just it gets on so many levels, but like what are personal goals that you're looking to call into your life um in the coming years?
I don't want to use the word scaling, right? Because I want to grow. I want to expand what we do at Standout Authority to help, to support,
Mhm.
to empower over 100,000 business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are spiritualpreneurs, right? I want all this aspect to turn their personal brands into their most valuable asset. And I think that'll really, like, this kind of like pulls back, right? Because that's what I want to do. I want to see that empowerment over 100,000 of those human beings being able to go through. Because currently, right now, if we go back to my vision for that new earth, I think too many people are hiding behind their business, hiding behind their product, hiding behind their automation.
Hmm.
And if I can help them turn their personal brand their most valuable asset, it's going to allow that vision for my new earth to be able to truly come into play.
That's the goal right there. Beautiful. So,
Yeah.
what are the last words you want to leave the audience with? And then, of course, where can people find you and, get in touch?
This is the thing. I mean, we'll go back into it as well. Your personal brand, your being, right? That's your legacy. You have to be able to build it with authenticity. I push you to learn how to lead with value and to watch the right opportunities come to you. And I think this is the biggest thing, right? When I led with who I was 100%, being 100% me, 100% of the time on and offline, it was authentically me. And I gave without asking to receive. And like I mentioned before, Christian, all of a sudden I got to start working with the men and women I used to read their books on how to be able to start my own companies. And so this is that whole piece, right? If you are you 100% of the time on and offline, allow the things in your life, they will come to you and we will change this world together. And so like that's that whole piece, right? Like, know you, and to know yourself is to allow the world to know you as well. Where can people find me? Surprise, surprise. Find me on LinkedIn, right? Like it's Joshua B. Lee, pretty much everywhere, right? You can look on, I think it's the Joshua B. Lee on Instagram, on TikTok. But I mean, most of my content I put out on a daily basis is on LinkedIn. Look me up, send me a friend request. Tell me why you love and listen to Christian. I mean, because that allows me to be able to get to know your audience better, Christian, and also get to know you as well. So don't send me a link next request. Don't just follow, try and connect with me there. Or if y'all want to know more about what we do at Standout Authority, go to standoutauthority.com and I'll see everyone there.
Beautiful. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for your time, your wisdom, your heart, and your authenticity at this podcast and in your life.
Thank you, my friend.